Explanation: the impossible motion illusion. Balls are positioned on the bottom of the slopes which appear to be rolling uphill. How could this be? This illusion most certainly cannot defy the law of gravity. This illusion plays with our minds. What we see is different from reality. The illusion has deliberate manipulation of the environment. Our visual perception tries to interpret images to the most familiar shape we recognize. As you watch the video, you see the balls rolling uphill. Once the angle changes, you see how the illusion is made. The slopes are actually tilted downwards and supported by leaning columns. These columns appear straight when they are viewed at a specific position. Thus, the balls are placed on the top of the slopes and roll downhill. The impossible motion illusion is an anamorphic illusion. Anamorphic illusions are based on your perspective. These distorted images have to be viewed from a specific position or angle. The illusions are not stretched nor transformed. The technique used is called foreshortening. It involves distorting an image to replicate perspective. Foreshortening is the main principle in an anamorphic illusion. Visual or optical illusions show us that our minds tend to make assumptions about the world, and what you think you see is often not the truth. In this video, marbles roll down the slopes just as if they are pulled by a magnet. The behavior of the ball seems impossible because it is against gravity. The video is not a computer graphic, but a real scene. What is actually happening is that the orientations of the slopes are perceived oppositely. Hence, the descending motion is misinterpreted as ascending motion. This illusion is remarkable in that it is generated by a three-dimensional solid object in physical motion, instead of two-dimensional picture. Visual illusions occur due to the property of the visual areas of the brain, as they receive and process information. In other words, your perception of an illusion has more to do with how your brain works, and less to do with the optics of your eye. The human brain routinely throws away many possible interceptions of the visual data it receives from the eyes. Given the brain's limited resources and its needs to interpret visual data quickly, it can't afford to entertain every bizarre interception. It simply goes from the explanation that seems most likely, based on its past experiences and built-in visual processing machinery. We are primed to perceive right angles, even when they do not exist. Many of the most compelling impossible pictures involve structures in which there are only three different directions of lines. When that happens, we seem to have an irresistible urge to perceive the three directions as mutually perpendicular wherever they meet. When we look at one of these impossible objects or motions, our cognitive realization that something is wrong isn't strong enough to override the brain's knee-jerk interpretation of the three-dimensional geometry. Interpretation of images of three-dimensional solids cannot be controlled by the logical part of the brain. We are fooled because we make the assumption that each supporting column of the object is vertical, and that the longest column in the center is the highest. But in reality, the columns and slopes are angled to create the illusion. Our visual system remains too limited to tackle all the information our eyes take in, and so our minds take shortcuts. Like betting for the best horse in a race, our brain constantly chooses the most likely interpretation of what we see. Seeing, then, is certainly not always believing. Brought to you by Mayalani Tracy, Eric Rodriguez, Lauren Bullock, Romel Maldonado, and Nicole Reynoso.